The check was already in my hand when I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. $100,000. 6 months of paperwork, sleepless nights, and signing away a piece of my late husband's memory, all folded into a single piece of paper that was supposed to change my son's life. But the look on my daughter-in-law's face told me it was about to change mine instead. "Surprise?" I said, my voice shaking with excitement I couldn't contain. I'd practiced this moment in the mirror that morning. I'd imagined tears, hugs, maybe even an apology for all the passive-aggressive comments about how I never helped out enough. I set my purse down on their kitchen counter, the same counter I'd helped them pick out 3 years ago, the one I'd lent them $2,000 to afford, and held out the check like it was made of gold. Because to me, it was. My son looked up from his laptop. "Mom, what are you?" "It's for the house," I said, pushing the check toward him across the granite. "The one you've been looking at. The one with the backyard for Emma. I know the down payment was holding you back, so I—" "Only 100,000? The words came from behind me, cold, sharp, like a slap across the face. I turned slowly. Ashley stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her expression somewhere between disgust and amusement. She wasn't even looking at the check, she was looking at me. "I'm sorry," I said. 100,000. She walked closer, her heels clicking against the hardwood I'd helped them refinish last summer. "That's sweet, I guess. But you do know that's barely enough for a down payment in this market, right?" My mouth went dry. "Ashley," my son started. "No, it's fine." She waved him off, her eyes never leaving mine. "I'm just saying, Daniel's brother got a full down payment from his in-laws. What was it, 250, 300? And they bought them a car." She picked up the check, held it between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. "I guess we know who the favorite child really is." The room went silent. I waited for my son to say something, anything, to tell his wife she was out of line, to remind her that I'd been babysitting Emma 3 days a week for free since she was born, that I'd given them $10,000 when they got married, that I'd spent every holiday for the past 7 years biting my tongue while she made little comments about my clothes, my cooking, my outdated parenting advice. But he just sat there, frozen, staring at his laptop screen like the words he needed were buried somewhere in a spreadsheet. "Daniel," I said quietly, "say something." He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Ashley, then back at me, and said nothing. That silence, that was what broke me. Not Ashley's words, not her sneer, not even the way she dropped the check back onto the counter like it was pocket change. It was my son's silence. The boy I'd raised alone after his father died. The boy I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college. The boy who used to hold my hand in parking lots and tell me I was the strongest person he knew. That boy was gone, and I was staring at a stranger. "You know what?" I reached for the check, my hands trembling. "You're absolutely right, Ashley. This isn't enough." I folded it carefully, slid it back into my purse. "Mom, wait." My son finally found his voice, but it was too late. "It's not enough," I repeated, my voice steadier now, "because nothing will ever be enough for someone who doesn't understand the value of sacrifice." Ashley laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, here we go. The martyr speech." I zipped my purse, picked it up, looked my son dead in the eye. "I liquidated part of your father's life insurance for this," I said softly. "The policy he worked himself to death to maintain. The one that was supposed to be my safety net. I gave that up because I thought it would help you build a life for my granddaughter." "Mom. But I see now that you don't need my help." I turned toward the door. "You need to grow a spine." I was halfway across the kitchen when Ashley called out behind me. "Don't bother coming to Emma's birthday party next week if you're going to show up empty-handed again." I stopped, turned, and smiled. Not a warm smile, not a kind smile. The kind of smile that comes when you finally stop caring about keeping the peace. "You know what, sweetheart?" I said, my voice honey, sweet and razor-sharp. "I wouldn't dream of missing it." I walked out, got in my car, and sat there in their driveway for 10 full minutes, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. 27 years I spent raising that boy. 27 years of sacrifices she'd never understand. And in one breath, she'd made it clear exactly what I was worth to her. A bank account. Nothing more. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I needed. Robert, my lawyer. My finger hovered over the call button. I thought about my granddaughter, about the trust fund I'd been building for her since she was born, about the rental properties my late husband and I had spent decades acquiring, properties my son had always assumed would be his someday. Properties worth over $2 million. I pressed call. Robert? It's me. I need to schedule an appointment. Something important. There was a pause. How important? I looked back at the house. At the kitchen window where I could see my son and his wife arguing. Life-changing, I said. And I meant it. I didn't turn on the radio. Couldn't. The silence in my car was the only thing keeping me from screaming. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. My jaw clenched so tight I could feel my teeth grinding together. Every red light felt like an eternity. Every turn brought another memory I didn't want to remember. But they came anyway. Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. Ashley commenting on my store-bought pie in front of everyone. Some of us just don't have time to bake from scratch anymore, I guess. Christmas last year. Her opening my gift, a hand-knitted sweater for Emma, and setting it aside without even a thank you. We'll save this for around the house. Every single Tuesday and Thursday for the past 7 years. Me showing up at 6 a.m. to watch Emma while they both went to work. Ashley never once saying thank you. Just a list of instructions and complaints about how Emma had been difficult lately. I'd swallowed it all. Every comment, every slight. Every moment when I should have said something but didn't because I didn't want to cause problems. Because that's what mothers do, right? We sacrifice. We endure. We bite our tongues until they bleed. The traffic light turned green. I didn't move. A car honked behind me. I pressed the gas, my hands shaking now, and I realized something that made my chest feel like it was caving in. I couldn't remember the last time my son had defended me. Not just today. Not just with Ashley. Ever. When had he stopped? When had I become someone who needed defending in the first place? I'd raised him alone after his father died, worked doubles at the school district office, and picked up weekend tutoring gigs just to keep the lights on. I'd taught him to stand up for what was right, to protect the people he loved. I'd taught him to be strong. But somewhere along the way, somewhere between the wedding and the mortgage and the baby, my son had become a stranger. A stranger who sat in silence while his wife tore me apart. My vision blurred. I blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. Not yet, not in the car. I pulled into my driveway 20 minutes later, my whole body numb. The house was dark. Empty. It had been empty for 3 years now, ever since the cancer took my husband. But tonight it felt different. Tonight it felt abandoned. I walked inside, dropped my purse on the counter, stared at the kitchen table where we used to have family dinners every Sunday back when family meant something. The kettle whistled. I didn't remember putting it on. I poured myself a cup of chamomile tea with trembling hands and sat down at the table. My husband's photo stared back at me from the mantel across the room, his reading glasses perched on his nose, that crooked smile that always made everything feel okay. I don't know what to do, I whispered to the empty room. But that was a lie. I knew exactly what to do. I just didn't know if I had the strength to do it. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from my son. "Mom, can we talk?" Ashley didn't mean it like that. I stared at the screen. Didn't mean it like what? Like I was worthless? Like my sacrifice meant nothing? Like I was just a wallet with a heartbeat? Another text came through. "She's just stressed about the house. You know how she gets." Oh, I knew. I knew exactly how she got. I knew how she'd spent the last 7 years making me feel small, making me feel like an inconvenience. Like my love for my granddaughter was something she tolerated rather than appreciated. And I knew that my son had let her. Every single time. I set the phone face down on the table, walked to the mantel, picked up my husband's photo with both hands. "You'd be so disappointed in him," I said, my voice breaking. "You'd be so disappointed in me for letting it get this far." The photo didn't answer. It never did. But I could hear his voice anyway, the same voice that had talked me through every hard decision we'd ever faced together. "You taught him better than this. Now make him remember." I set the photo down carefully, walked back to the kitchen table, picked up my phone. My son had sent 3 more texts. Apologies that weren't really apologies. Excuses wrapped in, "You know how she is," and "Let's just move past this." I deleted them all. Scrolled to a different name in my contacts. Robert Chen. No relation, just the lawyer who'd handled my husband's estate and helped us set up the rental properties 20 years ago. The lawyer who'd told me, just 6 months ago, "Make sure your will is updated. You never know what can happen." I'd laughed it off then. I wasn't laughing now. My finger hovered over his name. This wasn't just about the money. It had never been about the money. It was about respect. About teaching my son that love doesn't mean you get to be a doormat. That being a mother doesn't mean accepting disrespect from the people you die for. About showing Ashley that I wasn't just some old woman she could push around. I pressed call. It rang twice. "Hello? Robert?" I said, my voice steady now. "Clear. It's me. I need to schedule an appointment." "Of course. What's this regarding?" I looked at the check still folded in my purse, at my husband's photo on the mantel, at the empty chair across from me where my son used to sit when he'd come over for advice. I took a breath. "I need to rewrite my will." There was a pause on the other end, a long one. "I see," Robert said carefully. "May I ask what's prompting this?" I smiled. Not a happy smile, not a sad one either. The kind of smile that comes when you finally stop asking for respect and start demanding it. Let's just say I'm closing some accounts that have been overdrawn for far too long. I spent 6 days building that dollhouse. 6 days of sawdust in my hair, splinters in my fingers, and paint under my nails that wouldn't come out no matter how hard I scrubbed. It was 3 feet tall, hand-carved furniture, working shutters on every window, a tiny porch swing that actually moved. I didn't spend a single cent on it, because apparently that's all I was good for anymore. The party was already in full swing when I pulled up. Balloons tied to the mailbox, catering vans in the driveway, a bouncy castle taking up half the backyard. I could hear the music from the street. I grabbed the dollhouse from my trunk, straightened my shoulders, and walked through that front gate like I owned the place. Because once upon a time, I'd co-signed the mortgage that paid for it. "Oh my God, is that—" She actually came. I heard they had a huge fight. The mothers stopped talking the second they saw me. Good. I smiled wide. The kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. "Good afternoon, ladies. Beautiful party, isn't it?" I walked past them, dollhouse in my arms, and headed straight for the backyard. My granddaughter saw me first. "Grandma?" Emma came running, her little princess dress covered in cake frosting and grass stains. "You came? Mommy said you might not." "Emma, honey, go play with your friends." Ashley appeared out of nowhere, her hand on Emma's shoulder, steering her away. "Grandma and I need to talk." My jaw tightened. "Actually," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I came to give Emma her present." I set the dollhouse down on the gift table. It dwarfed everything else, the wrapped boxes from Target, the gift cards in fancy envelopes, even the electric scooter someone had brought looked small next to it. Ashley's face went pale. "You made that?" "I did." I brushed some sawdust off the roof. "Took me almost a week. But I figured, with my unexpected financial setbacks, handmade was really the best I could do." The whispers started immediately. "Financial setbacks?" I thought she was loaded. Didn't Ashley say her mother-in-law was helping with the house? Ashley's smile was frozen on her face, cracking at the edges. "Mom, can we talk inside for a—" "Oh, I wouldn't want to take you away from your guests." I turned to the other mothers, my voice dripping with apologetic sweetness. "I'm so sorry I couldn't bring something more expensive. You know how it is when you're on a fixed income. Every penny counts. Fixed income? One of the mothers, Jessica, Jennifer, leaned in. But Ashley said you were going to help them buy. Did she? I smiled wider. How interesting. Ashley's face was red now. Bright red. Mom, inside. Now. In a minute, dear. I'm just catching up with your lovely friends. I turned back to the group. Has Ashley mentioned the rental properties? The ones my late husband and I spent 30 years building? I'm sure she's told you all about those. Dead silence. I could see it clicking in their minds. The math. The implications. Ashley had been bragging. For years, she'd been bragging about her rich mother-in-law, about the inheritance, about the family money that was eventually going to be theirs. And now I was standing here talking about fixed incomes and handmade gifts. Excuse us. Ashley grabbed my arm, hard. We need to have a private conversation. She practically dragged me into the house. The kitchen was empty. She slammed the door behind us. What the hell do you think you're doing? I pulled my arm free. I'm attending my granddaughter's birthday party, which, if I remember correctly, you told me not to come to if I was going to show up empty-handed. That's not what Oh, but it is. I leaned against the counter. The same counter where I'd handed her that check a week ago. You made it very clear what you think of me, Ashley. What I'm worth to you. So I'm just adjusting accordingly. You're embarrassing us. I'm embarrassing you? I laughed. Actually laughed. That's rich coming from the woman who told me $100,000 wasn't enough. I was upset. You were honest. I straightened up. And you know what? I appreciate that. I really do. Because it made me realize something important. The back door opened. My son walked in. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. Stress written all over his face. Mom, Ashley, what's going on? Ashley turned to him, her voice immediately shifting to something softer. Wounded. Your mother is out there humiliating us in front of our friends. I'm out there being honest, I corrected. Something this family could use more of. My son closed his eyes, took a breath. Mom, please, can we not do this today? It's Emma's birthday. You're right. I nodded. It is, and she deserves better than this. I started toward the door. Mom, wait. I stopped. Turned. Looked at my son, really looked at him for the first time in days. He looked lost. Like a little boy who didn't know which parent to side with. And something in my chest broke all over again. Ask your wife what she said to me last week, I said quietly. Ask her exactly what she said when I tried to help you. Then ask yourself if you're proud of the man you've become. His face crumpled. Mom. My phone rang. I pulled it out of my purse. Robert's name on the screen. Timing really is everything. I need to take this, I said. I walked out of the kitchen, through the living room, past the mothers who were definitely going to be talking about this for months. I answered the phone as I reached my car. Robert, tell me you have good news. I do. Papers rustled on his end. I've drawn up the documents. The trust for Emma is ready. The properties are being transferred as we discussed. There's just one thing. What? Are you absolutely sure about this? Once you sign, there's no going back. I looked back at the house, at the party, at the bouncy castle and the catering and the everything they'd spent thousands on while calling my 100,000 not enough. At my son standing in the kitchen window, watching me leave. Again. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said. All right then. When can you come in to sign? Tomorrow, I said. First thing. I hung up, got in my car, and drove away from my granddaughter's birthday party without saying goodbye. But I'd be back. Oh, I'd definitely be back. Because this wasn't over. Not even close. The coffee shop was neutral territory. That's what my son had called it when he texted me the night after the party. Can we meet somewhere neutral, please? Neutral. Like we were diplomats negotiating a ceasefire instead of a mother and son trying to salvage what was left of our relationship. I got there first. Ordered 2 lattes, his with extra foam, the way he'd liked it since college. sat in the corner booth where no one could hear us fall apart. He walked in 10 minutes late. He looked worse than he had at the party, unshaven, rumpled shirt, eyes red like he hadn't slept in days. Good. Mom. He slid into the booth across from me, saw the latte, didn't touch it. Thank you for coming. Of course I came. I kept my voice even, calm. You're my son. He flinched at that. We sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop hummed around us, espresso machines hissing, conversations blending into white noise. Ashley's upset, he finally said. I'm aware. Her friends have been calling, asking questions about the money, about whether you're okay financially. I took a sip of my latte. And what did you tell them? I told them it was none of their business. He ran a hand through his hair. But Mom, why would you say those things? About being on a fixed income? About financial setbacks? You know that's not, isn't it? He stopped. I liquidated part of your father's life insurance, I said quietly. 20% of what was supposed to keep me comfortable for the rest of my life. I did that for you. For you. And your wife looked me in the eye and told me it wasn't enough. She didn't mean, don't. I set my cup down, hard enough that coffee sloshed over the rim. Don't you dare tell me what she meant. I know exactly what she meant. And the fact that you're sitting here defending her instead of apologizing tells me everything I need to know. His face crumpled. I'm sorry. God, Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have said something. I should have stood up for you. I didn't know what to do. You could have chosen me. My voice cracked. Just once. You could have chosen your mother over your wife's ego. He put his head in his hands. And for a moment, just a moment, I saw the little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, who used to hold my hand in parking lots, who used to tell me I was his hero. That little boy was crying. I don't know how it got like this, he whispered. I don't know when I became someone who lets this happen. I reached across the table, almost touched his hand. But I didn't. Not yet. Your father would be ashamed, I said softly. He looked up, tears streaming down his face. I know. He worked himself to death to provide for this family. Literally. The stress of those 60-hour weeks is what gave him the heart attack. I pulled my hand back. And I've spent the last 3 years trying to honor that, trying to make sure everything he built meant something. Mom, I'm not finished. I opened my purse, pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. There's something you need to understand about what your father and I built, about what I've been protecting all these years. He opened the folder. I watched his face change as he read. Confusion, shock, then something close to horror. These are property deeds, rental agreements. He looked up. How many properties do you own? 12. I took another sip of coffee. We started buying them in our 20s. Fixer, uppers in bad neighborhoods that we renovated ourselves. Your father did the plumbing. I did the painting. We rented them out, saved the income, bought more. 12 properties. He was staring at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. Worth. Jesus Christ, Mom. $2 million? 2.3, according to the most recent appraisal. He set the folder down, looked at me with something like betrayal in his eyes. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because it wasn't your business. I kept my voice gentle, firm. This was your father's and my safety net, our retirement, our legacy to leave when we were ready. But I always thought. Ashley said you told her that we'd inherit. I never told Ashley anything. I leaned forward. She assumed. She assumed that because we were comfortable, because we helped you when you needed it, that everything we had would eventually be yours, and you let her believe it. His face went pale. Mom, I never... You let her plan your life around money that was never promised to you. I pulled another document from my purse. Set it on top of the folder. This is the trust I set up for Emma. Effective immediately, 6 of those properties are now held in her name. She'll get access when she turns 25. And the other 6? Being sold. I watched his face. The proceeds will fund my retirement, my health care, my life, the life I'm entitled to after 50 years of work. He was shaking now. hands trembling as he picked up the trust document. "You're really doing this. You're really cutting us out." "I'm not cutting you out of anything that was ever yours." My voice was steel now. "I'm taking back what's mine, what I earned, what your wife convinced you that you were owed. But the house was never my responsibility." I stood up. "You're 42 years old. You have a good job. Ashley has a good job. If you can't afford a house, that's not my problem to solve." "Mom, please. Sit down." I hadn't raised my voice. Didn't need to. "He Saturday?" I sat back down too, pulled one more envelope from my purse. This one was thick, heavy. "There's something else you need to see." "What is it?" "Open it." He did. The photos spilled across the table like dominoes falling. Credit card statements, bank records, screenshots of text messages. His hands stopped shaking. Started trembling for an entirely different reason. "What? What am I looking at?" "Ashley's spending habits for the past 18 months. I pointed to one of the credit card statements. "That card is in your name. Did you authorize $15,000 at Nordstrom?" "No." "Did you authorize a lease on an apartment downtown? $1,200 a month?" His face was white now. "What apartment?" I slid a lease agreement across the table. "The one she's been renting since last March." According to her sister, I showed him a text message screenshot. She calls it her escape plan. He read the text. Once. Twice. Then a third time, like the words might change. Ashley to her sister, "I'm playing the long game. Once the old lady kicks it and the inheritance clears, I'm out. Daniel's sweet, but God, he's weak. I can't spend the rest of my life with someone who can't even stand up to his own mother." The coffee shop sounds faded away. My son sat there, staring at his wife's words, and I watched something break inside him that I didn't know how to fix. "How long have you known?" His voice was barely a whisper. "A month." I gathered the photos back into the envelope. "I hired a private investigator after that day in your kitchen. I needed to know what I was dealing with." "A month?" He looked up at me. "You've known for a month that my wife that she's using you." I said it gently. As gently as I could. "She's using you, honey. She's been using both of us. And she's been planning to leave you the second she gets what she wants." He put his head in his hands again. This time, I did reach across the table. This time, I took his hand. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry you're going through this. But you needed to know." The apartment, his voice was broken. Shattered. All those nights, she said she was working late. All those weekends, she took Emma to her mother's, and I stayed home to catch up on work. She was. "I don't know what she was doing there," I said honestly. "The investigator couldn't get inside, but the lease is in her name, paid from a bank account you don't have access to." He pulled his hand away, stood up, paced to the window. "What do I do?" He wasn't asking me. He was asking the universe. "What the hell do I do?" "That's up to you." I stayed seated. "But I can tell you what I'm going to do." He turned. The check. I pulled it from my purse one more time. Still folded, still pristine. "It's still here, it's always been here, and it's still yours. If you want it, if you agree to conditions." I set the check on the table. Marriage counseling. Real counseling, not just Ashley telling a therapist what she thinks they want to hear. Financial transparency, all accounts, all spending, everything. And most importantly, I stood up, walked to him, looked him in the eye. "You never let anyone, not your wife, not your friends, not anyone disrespect your family again. You stand up, you speak up. You be the man your father raised you to be." His eyes filled with tears. "I don't know if I can." "Then you don't get the check." I picked it up. Simple as that. "Mom, I love you more than anything in this world," I said, "but I will not fund a life where you let someone treat us like we're disposable. Your father didn't work himself to death so you could become someone's doormat." He took the envelope full of photos, held it like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Can I have some time to process this?" "Of course." I touched his face. Take all the time you need, but understand this isn't just about the money. This is about who you want to be. I left him standing there, walked out of the coffee shop, got to my car. My phone buzzed as I started the engine. A text from my son. I'm calling her right now. I'm not asking permission anymore. I smiled, put the car in drive, and headed home. The son I raised was finally coming back. If you agree to conditions. I set the check on the table. Marriage counseling. Real counseling. Not just Ashley telling a therapist what she thinks they want to hear. Financial transparency, all accounts, all spending, everything. And most importantly, I stood up, walked to him, looked him in the eye. You never let anyone, not your wife, not your friends, not anyone disrespect your family again. You stand up. You speak up. You be the man your father raised you to be. His eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I can. Then you don't get the check. I picked it up. Simple as that. Mom, I love you more than anything in this world, I said, but I will not fund a life where you let someone treat us like we're disposable. Your father didn't work himself to death so you could become someone's doormat. He took the envelope full of photos, held it like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Can I have some time to process this? Of course. I touched his face. Take all the time you need, but understand this isn't just about the money. This is about who you want to be. I left him standing there, walked out of the coffee shop, got to my car. My phone buzzed as I started the engine. A text from my son. I'm calling her right now. I'm not asking permission anymore. I smiled, put the car in drive, and headed home. The son I raised was finally coming back, because sometimes breaking is the only way to rebuild. We sat like that for a long time. Eventually his breathing evened out. The tears stopped. I'm going to fight for Emma, he said, full custody. I'm not letting Ashley take my daughter away just because she's mad she didn't get the inheritance she was planning on. Good. And I'm going to fix this. Fix me. I'm going to be the kind of man Dad was proud of. The kind of man you deserve as a son. You already are. I pulled back, looked him in the eye. You made mistakes, but you're owning them. That's all I ever wanted. He picked up the check, stared at it. This is really still for the house? It's really for whatever you need. I stood up. Down payment, legal fees, therapy, a fresh start. You decide. It's yours. What about you? You said you liquidated part of Dad's insurance. I'll be fine. I smiled. I have 12 rental properties, remember? Well, 6 now, but that's still more than enough. He laughed, a real laugh this time. I still can't believe you've been sitting on a real estate empire this whole time. Your father and I believed in preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. I headed toward the door. Consider this your inheritance, early, with conditions. Mom, wait. I turned. He stood up, walked over, wrapped his arms around me in a hug that felt like coming home. Thank you, he whispered, for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. I'm your mother. I held him tight. I'll never give up on you, but I also won't let you settle for less than you deserve. Not anymore. We pulled apart. I'm going to make you proud, he said. You already have. I touched his face. Now go take a shower, you smell terrible. He laughed. I left him standing in his living room, holding a check that represented both an ending and a beginning. I drove home through empty streets, my phone buzzing with texts. From my son. Appointment with Derek tomorrow at 9 a.m. Already sent him the photos. Found Emma's stuffed rabbit. Ashley forgot it. Heading to the apartment to drop it off. Mom, she was with someone. At the apartment. A man. I'm okay. I'm actually okay. Because now I know for sure. Thank you for showing me the truth, even when it hurt. I pulled into my driveway, sat in the dark, and smiled. Not because my son's marriage was ending, not because Ashley was finally showing her true colors, but because for the first time in 7 years, my son was standing up for himself. He was choosing truth over comfort. He was choosing his daughter over his pride. He was choosing to be the man his father raised him to be. My phone buzzed one more time. Emma wants to come stay with you this weekend. Can we make that happen? I typed back immediately. Of course, I'll make her favorite cookies. Because that's what grandmothers do. We show up, we support. We bake cookies and provide safe harbor when the world falls apart. And sometimes, just sometimes, we teach our children that love without respect is just another form of betrayal. That being kind doesn't mean being weak. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. I walked into my house. Looked at my husband's photo on the mantel. He's going to be okay, I told him. Our boy is going to be just fine. And for the first time since this all started, I actually believed it. 3 months later, the house had a sold sign in the yard. Not the one they'd been looking at. A different one, smaller, in a better school district. With a backyard perfect for a 7-year-old girl and her grandmother who came over every Tuesday and Thursday. Some things don't change. My son signed the papers with a steady hand, no Ashley beside him, just Derek, his lawyer, and me holding Emma's hand while she ate a cookie. 50-50 custody, my son had told me last week. The judge said Emma needs both parents, but Ashley's on supervised visitation until she proves she's financially stable. Turns out, the apartment and the secret spending really didn't look good in court. And the man? I'd asked. Gone. He'd smiled. A real smile. Apparently he wasn't interested in someone who came with a child and legal bills. Funny how that works. Now, watching him shake hands with the real estate agent, I saw the man I'd raised. Strong, confident, unafraid. The man his father would have been proud of. Grandma, can I pick out paint for my new room? I looked down at Emma, at her gap-toothed smile and her father's eyes. Of course, sweetheart, whatever color you want. Can we paint it together, like you and Dad used to paint houses? My heart swelled. Absolutely. My son walked over, put his arm around both of us. Thank you, Mom, he said quietly, for everything, for the check, for the truth, for not letting me settle. Thank you for finally listening. We stood there 3 generations in front of a house that represented so much more than wood and brick. It represented choices, second chances, the power of standing up for yourself, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son. Even when it bends, even when it breaks, it always finds a way back.